Hello everyone and welcome back to another Rise of Kingdoms video. I'm RoyalMixGaming and today's video is going to be about how do you not get kicked out of your kingdom. So we're not talking about, when you want to leave a kingdom because you don't agree with what they're saying. This is when the leaders of the kingdom ask you to leave. So how do you not get kicked out of a kingdom? So how do you make a contribution to your kingdom? Because that's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to kind of explain the top 300. We're going to go over some contribution stats from our own kingdom here in 216, kind of show you some things about what our kind of contributions are to the kingdom because we're a fighting kingdom. And then we're also just going to talk about your contribution in general and also just what a kingdom is looking for in you if they're looking to fight a lot. So the top 300, this is basically going to be where there's the top 300 governors in a kingdom. Every kingdom has a top 300, and that is what kind of makes your matchmaking in KVK. The Liz looks at the top 300 and what their power is, and they're going to match you against kingdoms of similar power, language, time zones, that kind of sort of thing. Not always the most accurate, but it is what you're going to be matched against. So you're basically going to click on your profile picture. You're going to go ahead and go to settings, or actually go to rankings, my bad. You're going to go to, let's see here, individual power. And as you can see here on individual power, you can see all the players. And I think I didn't click on the right thing. It's rankings, individual power. I guess it is just ZT. Yep. Okay. It is on your profile picture, and then rankings, and then individual power. You're going to scroll through here and you see there's tons of people. I'm rank 51. But as you scroll through here, there's 300 of these people, and only the top 300 are going to matter. So you're going to scroll through here and see, everybody up and down to like 50 million power is in the top 300. Even all the way down to 40 mil for an A kingdom is about, in your top 300. So our cutoff is 38.2 million power for our kingdom. And that's basically the number of players that we have, our powers, is what's taken into account in your kingdom. So you can always check and see if you're in the top 300. If you're not in the top 300 but are really close, you're still going to have to kind of follow all the rules that your kingdom's going to set for you. But if you're in the top 300, you definitely have to, because you are basically contributing to the kingdom's power and to what your match made in KVK. Because if you have a lot of power and not a lot of kills, not enough deads, not enough contribution to your kingdom, then most of the time, especially if your kingdom is a fighting kingdom, they're going to ask you to leave. They're going to zero you, which is what my other video is about that I did the other day. So when you are looking through here, you're going to want to check to see if you're in the top 300. I definitely am on rank 50 right now, which is much higher than I usually am for some reason. But when you are looking at this, you just want to make sure you are noticing that you are in the top 300 and you know you need to make a contribution. So let's talk about contribution a little bit. So when I say contribution, that basically means how many kills per KVK, how many deads per KVK are you going to contribute to your kingdom so that they can win a KVK. Honor is one thing, but that is not usually the thing, that is not even close to the thing that wins you a KVK. It's the kills, it's the deads that you are willing to get, and basically the contribution you are going to give to your kingdom when you are fighting in KVK. So I would say, depending on your power, like I was saying, it's going to depend on what kind of rules your kingdom's going to set. For our kingdom, it's something like if you're over 100 million power, we expect 1.5 million deads out of you. And then, like, the kills, you can make what you want. But we kind of expect you to get a decent amount of kills. So I'd say 100 million power players should be getting 10 million kills plus. Easy. You should be getting at least that much. So when you're talking lower numbers, talking like 70s, 80 million power players, we expect less than half that. So, if you're like an 80 million power player, you're probably only getting expect maybe just under 1 million deads. So 750,000 to like 1 million deads is kind of what you would want to be getting if in a really hard KVK. If it's an easier KVK, then like 500,000 is probably okay. But you definitely want to get some deads so you're not just continuously increasing power unless you can, contribute up to that higher power limit, because you can get up to 100 million power and not be able to contribute 1.5, 2 million troops a KVK, and then you're in trouble because people are going to ask you to leave because others will do what you are not able to. Kills are one thing, but deads are another. So we kind of set a minimum contribution for deads in this kingdom. Like I was saying, 100 million power, it's like 1.5 to 2 million deads is what we kind of expect out of you. And then if you're under that, it's less and less as you get lower in power. If you're not in the top 300, like I was saying, it's not really going to apply to you because you are basically not in the matchmaking power. Depends on the kingdom, but they may expect like maybe a 40 to 50 million power player to get, 2 to 300k dead, something like that, when you're talking about contribution. But for kills, it's just what you can get if you're T4s. When you get T5, then you can make a much bigger contribution, obviously. But we're going to go ahead and look at kind of our contribution sheet that we do for our kingdom. So you can just kind of see by percents and by number of kills kind of how a contribution is going to look. So here's a contribution sheet that we do for 216. This is our most recent KVK 10 that we did and pulled our data. It's all combined. So I'm rank 1 with 176% contribution. That is basically taking your power into account and then your total kills and your total deads and kind of dividing by whatever it is that we do. I don't remember exactly the calculation right now to kind of get your overall percent contribution to the kingdom based on your power level. So we have some big players like Full Sugar that's going to get 11 million dead. That's not something I can't do. He's 200 million. He's double my power easy, all the time actually. Those kinds of players can put a huge contribution. They're 100% plus. Those kind of players are very valuable to your kingdom. And if you see somebody doing 100% contribution to your kingdom or more, they're a very good contribution to your kingdom because they're pulling more than their weight by a lot. So you can just kind of scroll through here and talk about, what kind of contribution your kingdom's going to set. But we kind of try to ask people to shoot for around 10% when you're talking about top 300. It's what we kind of try and shoot for overall. But when you get lower and lower in power, there's players that are going to be not contributing to your kingdom that you ask to leave and things like that. And as we get lower and lower in the 200 players, there's like 40 million power players. It's very difficult for them to get 10% and things like that. We don't really worry too much about these kinds of players. If you're under a certain power limit, like 50 to 60 million power, you're not really a huge burden to your kingdom because if you're T5, you're almost zeroed kind of contribution. So you can really only make a contribution when you start getting into like the 70 million and higher. Or if you're a really hardcore player at 60 million, you can really do some damage. But if you're not that high, it's kind of hard to make a contribution to the kingdom. So as we kind of go through these, you can see just kind of the contribution that we do for our kingdom, which is kind of the things that you can do for our fighting kingdom. And the last thing I'll touch on is just to make sure you're reading your personal emails for basically your kingdom. You're going to want to make sure you're reading all the rules that they set for your KVK. That's how you don't get kicked out of the kingdom. You read the rules, you follow the rules, and you make a contribution to the kingdom. If your kingdom's not big on contribution, then don't worry about it. But if you don't want to get kicked out and you're on a kingdom that's trying to win a lot of KVKs, they'll start adding rules. You'll start having to read your emails. You'll start having to make a contribution so you don't get kicked out. If you feel like leaving, that's fine. You can go wherever you want. If you have the passports, feel free to leave whatever kingdom you want. Go where you want to be. But some kingdoms, like this one, 216, we will ask you to leave or we're going to zero you. It's not really a threat. It's more of we need all the players in the top 300 to make a contribution or we're going to lose a KVK. And there's 300 players that we need to get the rewards to. And everybody under that is players that are trying to grow. So we want to make sure that those players are protected from players that won't make a contribution to the kingdom. So that's kind of why a kingdom's going to ask you to leave if you don't make a contribution. So you want to make sure you're getting your kills, you're getting your deads. Some kingdoms may ask about honor, but in 216 we really don't care. Just get your 120k like it is in Season of Conquest and you're good. You should get those because it's your own rewards. But we really don't push honor. It depends on your kingdom. But for kills and deads, you definitely are going to want to try to make sure you're making a contribution to your kingdom. And then each kingdom kind of does their own thing depending on if they use sheets, pull data scans to try and see what you do. But that's basically how you don't get kicked out of a kingdom. It's just following the kingdom rules, making your kills and deads use KVK. And if you lose a KVK and you made your contribution, it's not your fault. It's all the other players that don't pull their own weight that are causing you to lose that KVK. And then even then, so if you lose, even though everybody's making a contribution, then you just need to get more players to be able to do that kind of, do even more so you can win KVKs. So thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you guys learned something from this video, and I'll see you on the next one.